Hello, Dr. Nemec here with you. I'm the clinic director of Revolution New Medicine. Today we're going to be talking about what is cancer going in more depth, especially what are cancer stem cells and how they epigenetically or environmentally are triggered. So what is cancer? It's your cells. Cancer is not an alien, it's your cells that have adapted to a very stressful environment so they can survive. And this is a really key point which most people miss. We're looking at cancer like it's something from the outside that came in. It's not. It's your cells from the inside that had to adapt to a toxic and inflammatory environment. So when there's oxidative stresses, deficiencies, toxicities, and probably one of the biggest ones that's overlooked is mental emotional stressors. Your cells start breaking down at an accelerated rate. This leads to a certain percentage of mutations, and these we know them as cancer cells. This isn't a problem for a person with a healthy immune system without chronic inflammation, and I'll cover that in just a moment. Because the immune system will seek out these cancer cells because they're pathogens. They're abnormal cells, but they are your cells that have mutated, and they'll kill them. The big point here is chronic inflammation. The body was designed for acute inflammation. That means short term. You cut your finger, that's acute inflammation. You bruise your arm, that's acute inflammation. But chronic means you're inflaming it day in and day out, year in and year out. The body does not adapt to that. As far as in a healthy way, the immune system can't keep up. So when there's chronic inflammation, the immune system is definitely going to get weakened. Do you need to be healed today? Do you want to be healed today? Do you want more energy? Do you want more vitality? You know, the type you had when you were younger. Do you want to feel better? Do you want to look better? Do you want to start living? I said living, not merely existing day by day. Do you want to live life with a passion and a purpose? And do you want to go deeper in your relationship with God? If the answer to any of these is yes, you are about to begin a journey that will change your life forever. Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Nemec.
And I'm Lori Nemec, and we welcome you to Revolution New Medicine. Revolution New Medicine has been helping patients restore their health for over the past 40 years with our outpatient-inpatient treatment facility. Each time we meet, we will be covering a current topic of research in order to help you optimize your health.
And now I want to say the most important thing that I will say today. Sweetheart, I love you so very, 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 very much. In a toxic and inflammatory and oxidative stress environment, the normal cells that make all the other cells in the body are called stem cells. So stem cells are the base of all the cells. So stem cells, when they reproduce, they make another stem cell and then what's called a differentiated cell. That could be a liver cell, that can be a muscle cell, that can be a fat cell, that can be any cell in the body. So the stem cells are kind of called immortal cells because that's what kept you alive from the day you were born till now. Without stem cells, you would have died in early childhood because that's what regenerates the cell line. So this is very important. Stem cells are the key to your health. But in an inflammatory, toxic environment, the stem cells themselves, due to the inflammation and toxicity and, as I said, chronic, long-standing inflammation, they have to adapt because it will kill them. So they try one last-ditch effort to adapt, and that's what cancer stem cells are. The body responding, the normal healthy stem cells of the body responding to the inflammation and toxicity that you produced with your diet, your lifestyle, your thoughts, your emotions, everything that makes you, that makes potential chronic inflammatory molecules, which cause these normal stem cells to become cancer stem cells. And cancer stem cells are basically just the base root of all cancers. It's not from the outside, this cancer. It comes from your cells. And it doesn't come randomly. It's not like a roll of the dice. And it's not because you have cancer genes. Because all cancer genes means is you have a slow gene or a weakness in the gene. But the whole field of epigenetics, which is what we're going to talk about today, says the gene is turned on and off by the environment. Epigenetics means above the gene. It rules supreme to the gene. So the gene's the blueprint, but the environment above the blueprint turns it on or turns it off. So if you have a blueprint to make a house and it's not the best house in the world, that's a little bit lacking in some of its structure, that's not a problem because you can epigenetically from the environment send the best workers into that environment to adapt that blueprint and make a very good, strong house. That's how it works. Epigenetics is what turns on and off the genes. So just because your father had heart disease and your grandfather had heart disease and your great-grandfather had heart disease doesn't mean that you're going to have heart disease, but you might have the gene for it, but you can epigenetically change that. And that's what we teach, and that's how we treat at Revolution New Medicine. So it's really important to understand that. Don't worry if you have weak genes, cancer genes, whatever genes. Let's focus on the environment to change that. And always remember, never forget, those cancer stem cells are your cells, and they're very smart. They adapt to stress and inflammatory toxic environment. They're trying to survive. They're you trying to survive. So if I took you and held you under the water, you are going to fight with every ounce of your life to get out of my grasp so you can breathe again. Well, that's exactly what your cells do, including your cancer stem cells. You have to look at it that way because otherwise, if we keep thinking it's an outside, we'll just kill the thing. Well, if you're just killing it with chemotherapy and radiation, you're inflaming and toxifying the body more. It will kill the non-stem cancer cells, but will not kill the cancer stem cells, because if that chemotherapy was strong enough to kill the cancer stem cells, it would kill your healthy stem cells and it would kill you. So the only answer to healing cancer is to changing the mental, emotional, and physical environment around your cells, around those cancer stem cells, so they can adapt back to where they came from, a normal stem cell. And that's the key to health and healing. This epigenetics we're talking about, the most current belief is that in genetics states that the environment around the gene turns that gene on and off, not the gene itself. The old school, the old paradigm was the genes control it. But as I just said, the blueprint does not control the final building. It's the workers and the environment that you adapt that blueprint to that controls the final building of the house or building of the cells. So this means everyone with a cancer gene does not mean that they're going to get cancer if they change. and this is the key, and this is how we treat, and this is how we teach at Revolution New Medicine. If they change the mental, emotional, and physical environment that surrounds the genes, you have to change all three. I've been treating patients for 40 years. If you don't treat all three, you never have success. And conventional medicine, conventional oncology only treats the physical. So they go in there with the big guns of chemotherapy, radiation, and maybe immune therapy, immunotherapy, hormonal therapy. But again, those are physical environment, which are actually making the physical environment worse. But that's okay. For a short-term gain, they might need to do that. But how can you expect to heal and stay healed when you're making the body more toxic and inflammatory than it was before they developed the cancer, and when you didn't address the mental, emotional, subconscious, and conscious stress programs stored on the hard drive of the brain? Well, that's where you have to look in a big, complete picture. Are we looking at the whole picture? That's what the word holistic means. Or are we looking at just a part? And when we're looking at conventional medicine, we got away from the country family doctor that kind of looked at everything. Now we're into the specialties of cardiology and gastroenterology and every little division, oncology, and they all have their specialties, but none of them are looking at the whole picture. And when I say whole picture, I don't mean the whole picture of disease. I mean the whole picture of health, of total health, of mind, emotion, and body and spirit. You have to look at the whole thing. And it's really important to understand that this is a very proactive compared to the bad news that you have cancer genes and you can do nothing about it. But instead, the good news is that you can change the environment that those genes live in and turn those longevity genes on and turn off the cancer genes. So a lot of times we're just confused by the information we receive. So when we say a certain gene is a cancer gene, there's tumor suppressor genes that if you have a slow tumor suppressor gene, then the purpose of that gene is to make byproducts to slow tumor production, because tumors can develop in anybody's body and they do all the time, but the body stops that very quickly with a healthy immune system and an epigenetic pattern that doesn't support a weak tumor suppressor gene. So if we have a weak tumor suppressor gene, that doesn't mean we have to cut off both of our breasts and do that. We don't have to cut off body parts, because that didn't change the epigenetic environment. It didn't change the mind, the emotion, the toxicity, the inflammation. It just tried to do a patch job on getting rid of the blueprint. But remember, it's the workers that build the building, not the blueprint. So if the workers are toxic and inflammatory, no matter what the blueprint is, it's going to make an inflammatory, toxic building. And that's, in this case, would be a body that has cancer that continues to grow and spread. So it's very interesting because the body was designed to heal. Cut your finger and it heals naturally. You don't have to do anything. It wants to heal. So the most natural things we can do for our health to support this epigenetic environment is the best thing that we can do. And I'm not opposed to conventional treatment as long as it's integrative, not the only source of the treatment. So if a person needs to do chemotherapy or radiation or surgery or any of the other therapies, that's not a problem. It's a short-term gain, but potentially a very long-term loss. But if you need the short-term gain because things are going badly so aggressively, then that's fine. But we still have to do a healing program. a health restoration program, and that's what we've been doing it for the last 40 years at Revolution New Medicine. And many of our patients that come in with cancer, they choose to continue to do conventional treatment, but do the treatment that's going to support their healing. And then eventually they wean away from conventional therapy. But many of our patients, they don't want conventional therapy. They want the body to heal the way it was designed to heal. And that's great. So if we're looking at all the things and how the genes, this blueprint is affected by the environment, when we look at the epigenetics to the DNA, to the chromatin, which are the DNA strands, biggest one are subconscious and conscious stress programs. Those are mental, emotional energies, blueprints, environmental factors that are stored on the hard drive of the brain that secrete messages. That's the environment that affects the blueprint of the gene itself. The subconscious ones started in utero and then in early childhood, age 0 to 6. The conscious stress program started age 6 and they continue to build to present day. So that's really important to understand, that you have to make sure that you're looking at all these things when you're looking at how am I epigenetically going to change my environment. Then we look at the environmental chemicals. We look at what am I being exposed to in the water, the air, and the food. Those are all chemicals. Am I eating pure food? Am I drinking pure water? How clean is the air that I'm breathing? And then we look at medications and pharmaceuticals, because if we're taking them, they do have side effects that do have to be detoxified by the liver. They do cause more toxicity in the system. It's not that you can't take them, but you have to maximize your system when you are taking them. And then just the idea of diet and aging. Well, aging, number one, as we age, we're more apt to negative inflammatory environmental influences on the genes. And diet is probably the biggest thing that we do physically day in and day out that can have a positive change or a negative change epigenetically. So that's why we do nutritional genetic testing at Revolution New Medicine. We do food sensitivity testing. We customize diets to the genes, to the immune system, to make sure there's no inflammatory factors. And then exercise. Life is motion. If we're not moving blood, we're not moving lymphatic fluid, we're not moving toxins out of the tissues and detoxifying them. So exercise is critical, just like diet is. And then fasting. When we go longer without food in between meals, it gives the body a chance to catch up. And then other things like cold. There's different therapies that in a beneficial way can be a positive stress if done short term, not long term. And then if you epigenetically, through your environmental choices, throw the system off, the results are all diseases. All diseases known, from cancer, autoimmune disease, mental, emotional disorders, everything from depression, anxiety, panic attacks, emotional highs and lows, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all neurological disease, including dementia. All of these things are epigenetically or environmentally driven. Heart disease, diabetes, you name it. It has an epigenetic component to it. And what happens is the environment will attach to the gene, to the strand of the genes, a little molecule or an energetic frequency that will turn on or off that gene as the gene is read. So it's really quite fascinating how the body works, but not to get too biochemical and too technical. It all comes from your environment, and those are the choices that you make every moment of every day. So most cancer is caused by environmental factors arising from the biggest thing of all that epigenetically affects you is your behavior. Your behavior. The actions you make because of your perceptions, your beliefs, your attitudes, your chosen pleasures in life. So it is your behavior that makes wrong food choices. Remember, what makes you eat things that are not healthy for you? It's an addiction to the pleasure centers in the brain because you have become addicted to inflammatory and toxic food that causes inflammation and toxicity, but gives a short-term pleasure boost in the neurotransmitters, and that's the base of addiction. So your body, your liver wouldn't choose what your taste buds are choosing. Your behavior, what you order or make or buy for your food choices, are because of your behavior. And the behavior is coming from your perceptions, these belief systems, really these stored subconscious and conscious stress programs that are written on the hard drive of your brain. So it's your behavior that makes wrong food choices, it's your behavior that chooses not to exercise, and it's your behavior that chooses to go to bed late in the evening. Always for selfish, self-centered, self-pleasing, instead of working for the whole. Because even if you look at the animal kingdom, animals without the consciousness, without what we have, the advantages we have mentally, emotionally, they naturally eat the right food for the cells of their body. They naturally get the right amount of exercise. They naturally go to bed when the sun goes down, for the most part. This is natural to them. So remember, we changed the mental emotional programming, subconscious conscious stress programs. We changed the behavior. We changed the diet, the lifestyle, the choices of food, of exercise, of sleep, of all the things that make an environment around this blueprint called the gene. So as we close, let's just sum it up this way. The beautiful thing of epigenetics is just the environment controls. And the biggest environment of all is the mental emotional. That's why that is the target we hit the hardest, but we address every single aspect in every patient we treat and every way that we teach people in this world. You must look at the mind, the emotions, and the physical body, and you must balance all of them. And when you do balance all of them, you will get a good outcome. You will get the outcome that you desire. It comes down to cause and effect. If you put the right cause, you get the right effect. If you put a cause for health, the effect is health. If you put a cause for inflammation, the result is inflammation. You will always reap what you sow. If you're reaping inflammatory, toxic environment turning into disease, that's only because you sowed it. You live that life. And it's never too late to change. All you have to do is want one thing. Be willing with your free will choice, not because you're forced. You want to change. You want a better quality of life. I've had patients come in, and one of my patients, he was 95 years old. And here's what he said to me. He said, Dr. Nemec, he said, I'm starting to slow down and I don't like it. I need your help to get my system back in balance. And I thought, what a beautiful person this is. Typically we're programmed, if you make it past 75, you're just fortunate and lucky, especially if you end up taking a bunch of medications, but you're still alive. That's not really the way we define life. Life is a quality of life. It's called living life to the full, whether you're 20, 80, or 120. So every day that we live on this planet, we should be filled with vitality, We should be filled with the energy of life. We should be filled with an energy of life that is excited about the day, excited about what's coming and being revealed in this day. And that's what I really enjoyed about this man. He was ready to go to the next level and live life to the full each and every moment. So that's what we're here for. We're here for you, to teach you, to guide you, to help you in your choices in this life journey, in living life to the full, in your mind, both conscious and subconscious mind, in your brain, which takes the messages from the mind and translates them into the body, in your emotions, which is part of that translation, and in your physical body, and that's the houses, the cells we're building, and most importantly, in your spirit, because that's the source of that life that helps you and empowers you to live life to the full each and every moment.
So no matter what your health challenge or health goals are, at Revolution New Medicine, we can help you on your journey. Go to revolutionnewmedicine.com and get more information, or give us a call at 630-871-0000.